Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast with Matt and Amy, recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois. Welcome to episode number 86 for July 29th, 2024.
Well, hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show that's not so weekly, but is pretty freaky. I am Matt, along with the always lovely Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
It's summer. That's also.
What? What does that have to do with it?
It's summer. We've been kind of,
we haven't been weekly?
Yeah, we haven't been weekly because it's summer.
Yeah, I know.
And just in general.
It's been summer. We've been busy. And
it's a lot of work.
I was sick. I cut my hand. I mean, let's admit it. I am the drag on the podcast, really.
You're a drag.
I'm a drag.
On the podcast. I don't think so.
Well, we were July, though. We were gone for 2 weekends. We were traveling for vacation. Then I was sick on a weekend. So really that kind of flushed our July.
Yeah, the whole sick. You in the middle of the summer with your...
Summer whatever.
With your summer...
The symptom of the day illness. That was fun.
Yeah, that was... And
I'm talking about reasons not to drink, being sick.
He was so funny because he keeps trying to power through. Power through.
That didn't work out.
Power through.
I actually took a nap.
Power through. And I was like, go to bed.
Yes. And I slept for an hour and a half, which I don't nap. I've never been a napper in my life. I'm not against naps. It's just not my jam.
But when you're sick, go to bed. You know what? When you're sick, I don't want you to be sick around me. I want you to go to bed. Even though we share a bed and then you're sick in the bed with me and I'm thinking the whole time, I don't know. You know, the whole, what is it, psychosomatic thing that happens. And I'm laying there one night going.
Is my throat hurting?
Oh, wait a minute.
No, I just need a drink of water.
Okay. Oh. All right, then like doubling down, going, all right, I got to get more vitamin C. I got to get more D.
More zinc.
I got to get anything. I got to get anything in me to ward this off, but I did not get it.
I preferred the sleep day versus my teeth hurt because my sinuses are so painful day.
That was, yeah.
But that was only a day too. It was a symptom of the day. But anyway.
And you do sound better.
Well, thank you. I try to.
And then you sliced your finger.
And then I sliced my hand open, so that was awesome
was
too.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun.
4 stitches later.
I will tell you, he walks into the bathroom. I'm getting ready for the day.
Not in a panic or anything.
And he doesn't. He just walks in very calmly. I need a Band-Aid. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh, well, what'd you do? And I look and I'm like, I think you need more than a Band-Aid.
Yeah, a lot of Band-Aid.
It was like a lot of blood. And then I'm like, you need to run that underneath the water so we can see it. And then I was like, oh, okay.
That is blood more.
Okay. We need to take you somewhere and get a couple stitches.
No, I said, let's put a bandage on it. We'll see.
I knew we were taking
minutes,
you. I knew we were taking you to get, I'm like, fine, go ahead, sit down. You test your hypothesis or theory
I held
or
my
whatever.
hand up hoping gravity would help. And within 15 minutes,
it was just running down your arm.
Like, I'm no medical professional, but I'm going to say it needs at least a few stitches.
Which that was just a wonderful experience, except for you having, literally to get stitches. But it was a really good
If you have to get
experience.
stitches.
So I would say if there's anyone local, the OSF on call. I guess it's like a prompt care. Yeah. I think that's what it used to be called. Urgent, whatever. Yeah. But it was really good. Yeah. And when you are bleeding, you get a room fast.
Yeah, if you're actively bleeding, that's the way to go. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, we got to get you out of here. We don't want you bleeding in our lobby.
Because it's still bleeding. I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like it hasn't bled out completely, but
But they fixed you up. We had a wonderful, I don't know if he was a tech, medical tech or something.
Yep. Victor or tech.
Victor, he was wonderful. Thank you if you are listening, Victor.
Yes.
That was really good.
It was.
So he was a wonderful person who, it was just good.
It was good.
So,
all right,
and Jenny, the nurse, was great too.
Yeah. She looked at it and she goes, I think we can fix that. I'm like, I hope so. That's kind of why we're here. But
yeah.
Kids, if you want, you can always go to jointheirside.com and or click the link down below and grab our Beyond Spirits, the 7 tips to start your alcohol-free journey. Those are 7 tips that helped us.
Ending dry July.
Dry July.
So I hope that any of you who...
August doesn't rhyme, so you got to do it in July, kids.
If you experienced it or if you tried or if you're sober curious, this guide is what helped us. Also, just remember did you already say this?
What?
To like, subscribe.
No, we got right into bleeding and sickness.
to the podcast.
Yes, like and subscribe to the podcast.
Go on to YouTube, like it there too. You don't have to watch it, but just go and help us out. It just helps, that.
And now you can listen on. I've added it to YouTube. It's weird.
It's so weird.
It's strange.
And there's just too much. Yeah. So.
And you can also go to jointheirside.com or the links below and get our weekly marriage meeting guide, which I recently suggested our son use.
I don't know if we have that out there.
It is out there. I've been linking to it for the last 3 podcasts.
I don't think it's on my website, is it?
Oh.
I don't think it's on the website.
I'm linking somewhere.
You need to link it in. You need
Use
to
the show notes. That'll get you there.
Yeah,
show
do that.
Kids.
Or if you follow me on Joy on the Other Side of Alcohol on Instagram, if you go to the link tree, you can find it as well there, that link.
I was just reading our notes because I put the notes about being sick.
I want a shirt. Why don't I have a shirt?
Was I a snitch? They say snitches get stitches. Did I snitch on somebody? Is that what happened? You want the, sorry, I was totally derailing your thought. You were following the notes so well, and I just totally ruined it. No, you want one of our...
I'm actually doing exactly what I'm supposed to. Okay. 1, 2. I'm like mentally checking them off because I like a list.
No, our Remember Tomorrow shirts, which I'm not wearing mine right now because I need a t-shirt.
I don't have one.
We can order you one. I even put V-necks in the...
I don't want a V-neck.
That link is in the show notes too.
I want a hoodie.
Because you know what?
Do we have hoodies?
Yes, this one I have is a hoodie.
Oh.
You can just have my hoodie and I'll order another one. Thank you for noticing. I've worn it like 3 times on the podcast.
I'm like, how am I supposed to tell people there's a shirt when I don't get...
Guess I gotta get you one.
There you go.
It says remember tomorrow, because when you don't drink, you will remember tomorrow. Oh, thank you, Go Brewing, because I borrowed it off your sweatshirt.
No anxiety.
No.
That should be another one.
Yes. Get it.
Anxiety free.
Get it while they're hot.
I'll tell you what. Anxiety free. That is the best feeling ever.
All right, Coach Amy, we need to get to our interview, so let's talk about our drink of the week here real quick.
Oh, see, I was just jumping around. Okay. All right. So, I love Mingle. Key lime margarita, citrus sweet and sour, is the drink this time, and it is 50 calories. For the whole can. It's oh my goodness.
Mingle are pre-mixed.
It's
mocktails.
pre-mixed mocktail, but it is really. I really enjoyed
Most of theirs are all pretty good.
You were like, it doesn't taste like a margarita.
No.
I
would
think
say it's margarita inspired, but it's probably better than trying to fake a real margarita, and it probably has less sugar.
It does. And it's
light and refreshing.
It is light and refreshing. And I wish I would have put salt on a rim and did that, but I'd already poured it the other night. So.
You're like, good enough.
I'm like, you know what? But, really good. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that.
Mine is legitimately brewed and bottled and canned, whatever, in Germany. It's from Hofbräuhaus. It's their Wolters. I'm sure it's probably got
Wolters.
Wolters. It's probably Wolters. WOLTERS. 0.0. It's a very Germany beer.
It does. Good. It tastes like a German beer.
It tastes 100% like a German beer because it is 100% a German beer.
Ooh, 100%.
It is. If you're keeping score at home, it is 45 calories. So I'm winning by 5 calories this week.
You're winning.
I'm winning. I win the calorie king. But anyway, check that out. Found that in my local Hy-Vee store. Or if you want to just go grab yourself some awesome Go Brewing, you can always use our $5 off discount code down in the description. Coach Amy, tell us about Rose Ann Dana, our interview today.
Okay. You guys have followed along. If you get my newsletter, last week we were, or a couple of weeks ago, we were on Roseanne's podcast.
We'll link that down below too. You got a lot of links to click on this week.
And that was a great opportunity to share our story with her audience. And so we did a part 2 and had her come on our show. And that's what you're going to hear today, the interview. Rose Ann Forte was a successful executive and ministry leader in her church. She was a working mom of 4 and a social drinker. Over the years of life stresses and a difficult marriage, created an environment where her alcohol usage increased significantly. Her health and emotional well-being suffered greatly. After the collapse of her marriage, her drinking further escalated. And although she had made a lot of attempts to control, alcohol would usually come right back. When we entered into the COVID-19 pandemic, she enrolled in a coaching program to put alcohol aside for 3 months. And this experience was extremely transformational, and she recognized God's instruction embedded in the entire process. She identified what alcohol had stolen from her life and understood that God had a better plan for her. Rose Ann documented what she had learned in her daily devotional, which is the plans He has for me. And she also created a 12-week program called Choose Freedom. And I am very fortunate to be a licensed coach in that program. So let's just go to the interview. Well, welcome, Rose Ann Forte. Rose Ann is a mentor of mine, and she is the author of The Plans He Has for Me and the Choose Freedom program. And we just recently we were on your podcast, the Say Goodbye and Imagine podcast. And so we hope that we will have people that will go over and listen to our interview. And we hope that your listeners will come over and listen to us and create some great synergy and some movement in this alcohol-free journey that we are all on together.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because you said synergy. Sorry. Synergy. It's very corporate lingo. All right, let's circle back to Roseanne.
I'm all in. It's the perfect word.
Well, Roseanne, you know what? Why don't we just kind of tell us a little bit about where you're from?
Okay.
And just some, a little bit of background, personal background about like where you're at, where you're located. And then we'll kind of just jump into your story, your freedom from alcohol, and then where it led you to being an author and a creator of an amazing program.
Yeah. So I'm a small-town New Hampshire girl originally. And I was a latchkey kid because that's what you did back then. Both parents worked, and I was at home with my friends and got into the alcohol cabinet at quite a young age, 13. Went to college in Massachusetts, followed my parents later to San Diego, California, married, brought up 4 kids, and then retired to Arizona with my then husband. Ended up getting a divorce, spiraled out of control with my alcohol usage, and then I went into a secular program and it just changed my life. And I ended up writing a daily devotional as a result, because I saw God's word all over the science behind, which I think is your story too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, God's story all behind what everybody was doing these days with changing neurological pathways and changing mindset and renewing our minds, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so great. And I mean, I did not know that you were from out east. And that, that kind of explains your accent a little bit. And I'm like,
it sounded very Arizona-ish, did it?
No, it didn't. So you were jumping in young, like many of us did. And that's where it all got started. And would you say that your alcohol use, like through your adult life, was pretty what we would deem like normal usage?
Yeah, I mean, I had 4.5 decades of drinking, right? And so I went through all kinds of stages, but the bottom line is every part of my life involved alcohol. And socializing, sadness, kids' birthday parties. I mean, I just didn't know there was a world of people who enjoyed life without alcohol. And I'm sad that I didn't know that. And I think all 3 of us are here to go, wait, this is so much fun on the other side. Like, wow, what a lie. And that, that's what we both got to talk about on the last
Mm-hmm.
podcast is,
Yeah.
it just starts affecting you and you're like, what's wrong? Why can't I control it? What happened to me? I used to be so this and I used to be so that. And then you find yourself again. And, you know, first I realized I of course wish I had found out these secrets at a younger age, but I
Mm-hmm.
understand also that God uses me and my age. I quit drinking at 60 to tell people that's never too late. It's
Yeah.
never too late to be used by him for the kingdom. And I really think that's, God uses every pain point and every gift you have to develop your message. And I know um, a lot of people in the coaching program, well, Amy, you've delivered it when I talk about purpose. And somebody would text me and go, "Oh, you're funny, Roseanne. I was just thinking about, yeah, that whole purpose thing is funny, but it's too late for me." And then I mentioned, well, it's never too late. I was 60 and she's 40, right?
Right.
So,
Never too late to quit.
Yeah.
Well, we've interviewed some younger people, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, good on them for, starting younger. I mean, yeah, it's never too late.
Yeah. And I want to say, one of the questions I want to ask too, Roseanne, is okay, you quit at 60. Did you have earlier times in your life where you were like, I want to quit? Or did you, yeah, okay. Because
for
I
a
mean, because I,
decade, I
okay.
think, it's hard to go back and realize when we started saying, I need to control this because it starts with minor thoughts
Hmm.
and then it becomes all consuming thoughts. But I have to say at least a decade,
Okay.
at least a decade. I was struggling to go, well, I remember I was a gym rat. I was super healthy and I tried not to drink during the week. And then I'd go to a Chargers football game. This is when I lived in San Diego and have this enormous amount of alcohol from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., because we're tailgating. And I would add up not only the fact that I was snockered, right? But if I would add up all the calories that I had had between food and alcohol, it was a net gain to my weight. It
Right.
was so frustrating. I could go nowhere, you
Yeah.
know.
So
Eh,
do you have a rock bottom, or were you always saw that gray area drinker who just kind of kept adding to the insult over injury over time?
Yeah, I don't know that the reason I drank was I would attribute to sorrow and stress in a very toxic marriage.
mm,
Um the my rock bottom in my life was the collapse of my marriage, but that only drove my drinking to greater depths. And I had no interest in quitting at that time. And I did a podcast with David Jenkins, who's a clinical psychologist at Liberty University. And I was telling him about this. And he said, well, you were using alcohol for medicine. And I thought that was the most compassionate thing he could say because I didn't have any interest in quitting. It was doing exactly what I wanted it to do was numb the pain and suffering. But then there's a point where, I wanted to see something better and I was just frustrated. And I don't know if it's rock bottom, but it's an event, right? Everybody has an event.
mhm.
And my event, I think, was similar to Amy's COVID. Like I saw those bodies being thrown into a refrigerated truck in Italy. And I said, oh my gosh, I don't want that to be me. I don't want to die on a ventilator in a hospital without my kids by my side. And that scared me enough to make a change. And the funny thing is I didn't At that time, I wasn't sure I wanted to change forever. I just knew I
Mm,
needed to do something. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Isn't that's
Very
like
common, yeah.
so many of us? We're gonna, mine was I'm gonna get it under control. And then we would do as we've talked about, we'd have the golden ticket of moderation.
Yes, yes. Did you ever try the moderation, or did you just, when you quit, you just quit? Or had you tried moderation in the past?
Well, sure. I call it mental gymnastics, excruciating mental gymnastics.
Yes.
The worst kind
Yes.
possible.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe some people can moderate, and those people don't have a problem.
Right, right.
I could not moderate, which was, if I could moderate, I wouldn't have had a problem. So
Right.
yeah, of course I
Yeah.
tried many a time, and I failed just as many times as I tried.
Right.
And I
So
think that moderation piece is so many people, but I want to moderate. And then you said the psychological, this gymnastics. And my thing is if what we're doing currently when we're saying we want to be able to moderate is what moderation is. It's just horrible.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it was for me. I mean, it was just this. I mean, that's what it was. It wasn't going to ever get any better
No.
than
well,
what it was.
when I start to gain some awareness about what I was doing, I never used alcohol to just have a glass. It was always to get to an effect,
Mm-hmm.
which was drunkenness, right? And that's kind of what helps me now. If a thought comes through, this romanticism about, oh, look at they're having this beautiful glass of wine. Well, they're having a glass of wine. Would that have made me happy? And I would have thought, like, wait, how many glasses of wine would I have had at the bar? Who's noticing how many glasses? Why don't I just buy the bottle? Right? It's just like there's that brain thing
Yeah.
again. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, that glass of wine does not look romantic to me anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Right.
just and just that pattern, I think it's interesting that we all end up with that same cadence and then it would be and then it would be and then it would be and it's this really it it's just this it starts to become frantic as it goes in that circle and I'm
So playing it forward is a great
so
technique,
yeah,
right?
the playing it forward.
That's what you're like,
That's
oh,
just what you were doing
yeah.
is playing it forward. Well, what would that
It's like,
be?
oh, I wouldn't just have a glass. And yeah. And even if you're not moderating, there's still all those mental gymnastics, right? Because you're talking like, well, how do I not make it obvious that I'm drinking a lot? I'll do this, I'll do that, all these different things. And
Well, and I was in the business world, so I'd be very often surrounded by someone who's paying a lot of money for a great bottle of wine. And then my mental gymnastics would be don't drink it too fast. Don't make anybody know that, like, how much of the bottle am I having? It's everybody else. It's like it was horrible.
You just saying that, I remember being out with girlfriends, and here's the thing about that kind of makes this sad is we were going to a church event, a girls' night out, and at our church, and we were out for dinner, and of course they come around and they come to me first, and I ordered a glass of wine. No one else did,
Ooh.
and I was like, oh no. And then I sat there, I'm like, oh,
they're not
just
for
so
two.
well, I have to drink this really, really
Bless.
slow because this is going to be it. And
Yeah.
there was just all that disconnect. And I guess one of the things I wanted to talk to you about too, and I mean, we can kind of move into how I found you, in the plans he has for me devotional, and it's a 12-week daily devotional for freedom from alcohol. And I love it says, experience the you that you were created to be and free yourself from the psychological slavery of your alcohol habit. And I love how you word it exactly like that. It's a habit. It's this habit that slowly takes over and gets us, on next thing you know, we're addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well-worn
I
grooves.
yeah, it is. And but I found you, well, while I was coaching another group, my own group, one of my clients put it into our group and said they found this, and they were so excited, and everybody, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And my first thing, and I'll be completely honest, because I've said this to you before, my heart kind of did a little sink, and I'm like, that's what I wanted to do.
Aw.
But as you and I have both been through positive intelligence coaching training, I immediately was like, okay, there's the judge. That's my critic. That's a message from the enemy. I am going to reach out to Rose Ann. And within probably 3 hours, you and I had set up a call to get on a Zoom call and just chat. And then fast forward, you were like, no, I want to get coaches. I want people to take this into their church and to their groups. And I want therapists to have this. And so I'm just going to kind of let you talk about how you developed this 12-week devotional.
The devotional or the
I think
choose
let's talk
freedom?
about the devotional first, and then because it evolved into the program, correct?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the devotional got done shortly after I quit drinking myself, which was, I think it's kind of the secret to it, because when you guys, when you're suffering and you're trying to reenact or find the
Mhm.
words of your suffering, it was done so closely to my quitting that I think that authenticity about what I was going through and what I was thinking, because people would go like, I can't believe I'm thinking the same thing on the same
Yeah.
day. But it's just in general, because we all kind of think the same thing. But if I were to try and do it 4 years later, it might not be
Sure.
as powerful. But I did it while I was working for the other program. After I quit, I was so transformed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to work for you. And I became an enrollment coach myself. And I started to talk to hundreds of people just like me. Same psychological slavery, which is, by the way, where I came up with that word, because when I would talk to people, I'm like, it kind of feels like psychological slavery, huh? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And because my kids, when I was doing the book, they're like, don't use that word slavery. That's like a big political buzzword. And I'm like, people that are caught in it, they know, they feel it.
Yes.
I don't want to shy back from
Yeah.
that. And
It has resonated when I read that. I was like, oh yeah,
yeah.
absolutely
And
spot on.
and I was enrolling so many Christians. I mean, look,
Mm,
both of us were Christians going into the secular world, because what we could see from the Christian point of view was a lot of 12 step. And I think the three of us have already said, well, wait, forever wasn't one thing that we were looking for. And Matt, you're the same, right? It wasn't,
All right. No,
yeah.
I wasn't going to quit forever. No, I still haven't
Yeah.
technically quit forever, right? I mean, I could always start drinking tomorrow, I guess. Don't plan on
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's why I do a 12-week challenge, because I think at 12 weeks it becomes your choice. You've developed new neurological pathways, you have the evidence of what life is like without it on a regular basis, and and now you get to choose. And I tell people that have been addicted to drugs, like, wait, it's a choice? And I'm like, sure, it's a choice. Like, you feel good today. You know what's going to happen if you choose that drug. I have the same issue right now with chocolate cake. I know what's going to happen if I choose chocolate cake. Like, it's going to make me feel terrible. It's going to make me gain weight. It's going to make me, lose sleep. Every life is a bunch of choices. And I
Yeah.
think once you get to the 12 weeks, you have some evidence for you have a lot of evidence, actually, a lot of evidence
Yeah.
about how wonderful life can be without it.
Absolutely.
So you have a 12 after the 12-week program wraps up. You could probably answer this too if I'm going to ask Roseanne. So we know there's kind of like that fading bias, right? Like, oh, your brain kind of mutes all of the reasons that you got into quitting to start with. Do you send them off with sort of like tips and survival tactics of like how to try not forget like all the reasons you quit, like all the
Yeah.
shame, all the guilt, all the money, all the weight, all the all the reasons that you didn't want to drink in the first place, you start to forget. Do you give them tips to kind of keep them riled in after 12 weeks?
Well, there's an epilogue in the devotional that talks about quieting the neural pathways and what's going to happen, if you engage them again. But it doesn't matter. People get this confidence and they forget and they engage again. But that is exactly why I developed the 12 core concepts.
Yeah.
Because I talked to, again, hundreds of people, even coming back from the secular program, people would call me and need coaching again. And I'm like, life was so good. Why did you do this again? And that's how I got the 12 core concepts, what we need to know to solidify our choices moving forward. And so the core concepts are things like understanding, especially as Christians, what temptation looks like, how the enemy is there, how the enemy is there always to pull you away from this path. It's how to use the armor of God. It's how to be connected with God. It's how to love yourself. It's processing forgiveness, self
Yeah.
and others. I mean, these are the things that in life trip us up. And what I like to think is via the devotional and the program that you get so, and this is my personal experience and the experience of those I see who have been successful, you become so connected with God that you have no desire to go back to where you were. And that's the hope, right? Is that,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, this is who I was created to be. I mean, I found this joy again that I didn't really remember about myself. Back in my mid to late 20s. I used to be a joyful person, and I found that again. And when you're able to experience that unencumbered joy that God created in you, that's, you don't want to give that up, especially um, knowing where it sends you. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I like how you named it choose freedom because I look at it like every day we make a choice. Just like you said, like I choose to be committed to Matt every day.
Some
No.
days are harder than
I
others, but
mean,
yes.
I choose, but I,
I know, I agree.
but I choose every day what I'm going to do. It's a choice, and I don't think about alcohol like I used to. I mean, the only reason I think about alcohol now is because I help people with it. But but it's not. It's so far removed now that it isn't this choice. But I make these different choices to be committed to this healthier lifestyle, like
Well,
every day.
you choose to be in God's word every day, right? You
Yes.
have to, and
Yeah.
so the my life verse used to be Jeremiah 29:11. This, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, right? Plans to prosper and
Hmm.
not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. But since then, I have found Galatians 5:1, which is it is for freedom that Christ set you free. And so do not be burdened again oh no, stand firm and do not be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. Like,
Mm,
wow. Like when I found that verse, I'm like, that's what it is, right? Choose Jesus, choose freedom. Stand firm. This is what we're doing, right?
So every
And
time
yeah.
you
do
grab that
not,
bottle, you're clicking the shackle a notch tighter, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
Stand
so
firm and
true.
do not be burdened again
Yeah.
by
And
the
I think,
yoke of slavery.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is so true. Um, because and I going back to your devotional, my Bible verse of the year was Jeremiah 29:11. So it
Oh,
all,
yeah.
it just like that was the verse that I was going to focus on, and I am. And so there's all these little God connections that he or the God winks, as I know I've have friends who call it that. And it's like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And it does make sense. And I want to ask you too, because you have the 12 core concepts. And my favorite, I think, is there's a couple that are, but the forgiveness of self, I think, for so many clients that I've worked with, this is the big one.
Big. Yeah.
And so I was going to ask you, like, what is the one that I think maybe started it all for you when you were putting this together, or one that you think is like one of the big keys? Because I know they
Uh,
all work independently, and I know
I
they
know
work.
they all work, but I would have to say the one that comes directly from my prior program and my prior coach is I get to.
Ah,
Because I used to say, oh, I remember he had me starting a walking program. And it's like, oh, I have to walk this morning. He goes, you don't have to do anything. You don't have
yeah.
to. You get to. You get to walk and you get to see what happens when you walk. And that first week, I kept like I'm like, I have to. No, I get to. And I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like I got to, but then when I started seeing the benefits, it's like I get to, I get to. And it just,
Oh,
yeah, and it does. I saw something in our private Facebook recently that said that, like, I find myself excited. I'm at day blah, blah, blah. And now I'm excited. What do I get to see? What do I get to see? And that's what this should be about. It's not, you don't have to quit drinking. You can drink for the rest of your life, but you get to try and see what's different. You know what I mean?
Right.
mm-hmm. I love
So
that.
that was a direct carryover to and it's definitely tied to Jeremiah 29:11 because you get to see what God's plan is and not
Yeah,
interfere with it by being
Yeah.
disobedient.
yeah.
Stop helping so much. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, since this since it was the alcohol free marriage and more podcast, how did alcohol play into or work in your former marriage, and what role did that play in the dissolution? Is that the right word? Of it.
Yeah, I would like to tell you that it was a primary key to our demise, uh if I ask my kids, they didn't know that I had a big problem. We were just partiers, right?
Okay.
Now, he had an issue with how much I drank, but he was very controlling. So it was okay for me to drink when he drank and not okay to drink when he wasn't drinking. So, um, do I wish I wasn't drinking to handle the marriage problems better? Oh, you bet. You bet. But I've had an opportunity to re-entertain a relationship with him and in a more sober-minded fashion. And because I did wonder, Matt, that exact question, like, was it me? Was it this? Was it that? And I was like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh, now I know why I drank. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But
no, that's very honest. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
well, I think it was very comforting for me to have the opportunity to go back and see everything for what it was in a sober-minded way. And it was interesting when I hit these walls of toxicity that I was able to handle it differently. But it was still absolutely miserable. I just didn't react to it. And I
Right.
was proud of myself. So, um, you know, we were both partiers. We met in a bar. Our
Mm-hmm.
backyard had a kegerator. Our neighbors were always over the house. It was kind of our lifestyle. And
Mhm.
but now he got gout, so he had to, peel back his drinking. And yeah, let me just put it this way: an alcohol-free marriage, we did not give our children a good role model. Role models are all they're starting to get it at varying levels because they see what I do, they see the transformation, and they see their own, I think, traps themselves. I
Right.
think
Mm-hmm.
they all are in various levels of traps themselves. And the best I can do is tell them, I wish somebody had told me, so I'm going to keep telling you, be careful, be careful. I don't say you have a problem, you have a problem, you have a problem. Excuse me. I just say, be careful, be careful, be careful. This
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
sneaks up
Awareness.
on you. And I
Yeah.
see all of them working on it at various levels. I just, yeah. So if I could encourage one, the podcast I did with you was beautiful, right? You, I can see in that podcast what a marriage looks like when alcohol is at the center and when alcohol is taken away. And I definitely everybody should envy what you have when alcohol is taken away. But it's not only that, it's the legacy that you leave for your children. I was leaving a legacy, that they thought the same thing I thought. How do you have fun without alcohol?
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I really love, and I think you can take this approach in many aspects once you quit drinking, but to go back and revisit kind of the relationship without alcohol and like, was it as bad as I thought? And I think there's
It
other,
wasn't this. It was as bad as I
but
thought.
you at least had the
Yeah.
opportunity, right, to say, okay, with a clear head, let me re-examine, and you can do that a lot of parts of your life, whether it's your marriage or your job or other things. Look at it clear-headed, or your health, even, right? Like, let's take the alcohol out and reassess everything, right? Everything in your life, and then you can make a sound decision. Like, okay, yes, that in fact is a train wreck. Let's not do that. That actually could be better without this, and maybe we can work on certain things. But when you have the alcohol in there, the judgment, the scenarios, the discussion,
Oh
everything just gets
yeah,
train
yeah.
wrecked, and it's not a fair assessment of any aspect of your life at that point.
No.
Well, and my marriage was not rooted in Jesus, and that's really one of the primary reasons I think it it didn't work. And I think that's got to be the center of
Mm-hmm.
any good marriage. But it is so freeing to go back. And like you guys, I have gotten in my coaching years to coach many males and females who go into the coaching wanting to end the marriage. And I go, no, we're not going to start there.
Right.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are going to start with getting you healthy, just for the exact same reason, Matt, you just said. We're going to get you healthy and clear-minded so that you can assess with a clear mind where you are. And, some of them still, I mean, I have more marriages than not that end up living the happily ever after, like you guys. Like the other spouse eventually went, wait, I see what's going on with you. Wait, are you going to leave without me? Like that, they see the train, like the happiness
Mm-hmm.
train, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
love
And,
that.
and then there's others that, they collapse because maybe they were supposed to. I don't know. I hate to
Yeah.
say any godly marriage is supposed to collapse. Mine was not a godly marriage, so no.
Yeah. And I like how you, with your kids, that they have to be careful. I like that approach as well, because that's something that
Mm.
we've said with our kids. Like, this is a drug, and you've got to respect it, and you've got to be,
Pay attention.
attention, because it, like you said, it can sneak right up on you, because that's what I firmly believe that it did. And then the medicating yourself.
Oh yeah.
Because really, I mean, what my coach told me was, you were using the only tool that you knew how to use, that has been, constantly for all our life. This is the tool that you use when you're happy, sad, whatever.
Yep. Then you give alcohol a job. And
Yeah.
now it's got a
Stress.
job, and yep.
Yeah. Stress. Here it is. And that's what you do instead of healthier ways to cope with anything.
Right.
And so I love that I get to.
Yep. 100%.
I get to do this every day. I get to wake up.
I agree. Sometimes that's hard. Like after this podcast, I get to go to the gym. But I think, if you talk to anybody who's ever, if you ever had, like, I broke arms, Amy's, broke a foot. It's like, as soon as you're injured, you realize the value of I get to. If you're in the hospital, it's like, I don't get to do anything. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's like just the idea of being able to walk out of your house, like you get to. So I think there's a lot of value when you stop and think about I get to. Even if maybe in your heart of hearts you're like, I'm not sure if I want to, but I get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people just seem like, or they have this, the victimhood, and both. I love that about Amy and I too. We both did the positive intelligence, but it's just switching that negative mindset to positive. Whenever you find yourself in wah, 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 it's like,
yes.
Wait, what can I shift?
What can I do? What can I change? What can I turn it around? How can I recognize the lie? And I don't know if you want to share the lie acronym with everybody, because it's a tool that Rose Ann, it was delivered to you. I think how you kind of talked to me about that. It's like all of a sudden it was downloaded to you. So
well, it was downloaded. It's so funny. This is part of the self-love, right? Aspect of the program, that there's always so much to do, so other people to take care of, that we forget to take care of ourselves. And I think when it's that put your oxygen mask on first. And I went to a conference and there was nothing to do for a half day. And so I just decided to go to the pool and read a book. And I was reading a book and the LIE acronym came to me. Do not know why, but it was when I was relaxing. And it's really powerful, right? Look, intercept, explore. Look at the story you're telling yourself and identify its false nature. That's whenever you're tempted, right? You have to identify it as Satan. Intercept that thought, which is the positive intelligence coming in, intercepting the thought and replacing it with the vision of your future self, the one God created for you. And so that's understanding Jeremiah 29:11, intercepting that. It's actually 2 Corinthians 10:5 too. It's capturing those thoughts and making them obedient to Christ. So look at the lie, intercept the thought with a vision of your future self, and explore alternative activities until the craving goes away. And it works.
Yeah, it does.
Stop long enough to look. And then what I like, because I use it for food every now and then, and I'm like, you open the refrigerator and I don't have to go look, intercept, explore, just go lie.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that in the pantry. I'm like, lie. Oh my gosh, lie. Go turn around, go do something else. And I think I really enjoyed that. And then the last thing I want to ask you to just share a little bit is the vision on taking the core concept, the Choose Freedom program, into churches, because that really is very exciting.
Yeah, well, these 12 core concepts are the ones that I think are the pillars of, I think, your relationship with Christ. And so I think they're applicable, and I think they will be applicable to all life controlling behaviors, because basically the medical director of the American Association of Christian Counselors has requested that I make them applicable. So
I love that.
But they are, because now that I'm aware of all these things and I'm connected, I just want people to feel the freedom with being a child of God. And so ultimately, we want this program in churches to get rid of stigma. I am trying to work with rehabs or sober living houses, just anywhere that they're coming out and the success rate is very low. Let's turn that around and give an alternative program that gives hope and doesn't tie you to meetings for the rest of your life. And
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I want to tell you something, Amy, that you might not know, and Matt, that in the first church in the beta tests that we did, I had a woman and she had a pretty severe alcohol problem, and she went through, and I was just, praying for her that she would make it through. She's the mother of young children. She's a committed believer in Jesus. And she made it through, transformed. And Amy, as you said, the forgiveness of self was just a huge one. She was beating herself up constantly, and she realized that wasn't agreeing with God. But the pastor of the church kind of stopped the program and said, "Oh, we'll start in another month or two again." And I'm like, "Well, wait. I think you need to continue it." And and we did start it again, but she had drank. And of course I'm like, oh darn. But here's the good news. She drank occasionally for 2 weeks. And because of the court concept, she said, I realize there's nothing left for me in that substance anymore. And I literally,
That's awesome.
I just caught up with her yesterday because I wanted to make sure if I was going to share the story that it's still accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what she shared. Let me just read the text because I thought I was just I was inspired by it. So I realize now that I keep waiting for life to cool down so I can get situated, but that's never going to happen. I have to choose to put on God's armor every day and get out there knowing that the wicked one rules the air. Our Father's got this. And at the end of the day, my trust is in him. Wow. That's somebody who
Wow.
just did
Yeah.
12 weeks. 12 weeks.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
That's
That
so
is.
sorry,
good.
even I was surprised about that. I'm like, oh,
Aw,
they need a year, of repeated, but she is
Wow.
committed. And
that's
yeah.
awesome.
I
Well,
mean, it's not
I
that way for everybody, but we all have different paths. But
absolutely, but I certainly appreciate you coming on here today. And I think that is like the perfect place
Yes.
to end. And
Yes.
then, but you have the
I
last
always get the
question,
last
Matt.
question of the podcast. Since we're not drinking, when you go out and you're socializing, or maybe you're at home in the afternoon, evening, what is your go-to non-alcoholic drink?
I do super simple things, just because I don't like the calories. And it's so funny. I just do soda water, cranberry, and lime. And
Mm.
I don't ever remember when there was vodka in there. I don't ever remember people going, "What are you drinking?" But now everybody's like, "What are you drinking?" I'm like, "Water." So, I have tried. I will venture out with a bartender every now and then and tell them to make me something with soda water and mint. I like
Oh,
that
Oh,
combination too. Yeah.
interesting. I haven't thought
yeah,
about the mint with the soda water.
that sounds good.
Yeah. You can do a
Yeah,
lot with soda water. Yeah.
yeah, I think soda water, mint, and maybe stevia to make that.
Oh, sweeten it a little
Yeah,
bit. Oh, you
Yeah.
have a mint plant out back when
I
you're
know I've got
soda.
my mint plant, but I
Maybe
have to
after
go
the
out there
workout,
and
that'll be the plan. Well, awesome.
well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Roseanne. I appreciate everything that you're doing and wish you much success. And I know that I'll be talking to you probably tomorrow because it
Yeah.
seems like we talk every day. So But yeah, I cannot wait to get this put out. And I know in a few weeks, ours is going to come out on theirs, and then this will
And
Yeah,
right
yeah.
after.
And all the links to your content will be in the description below, so be sure and check those out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thank you for what you do too, because what a beautiful thing. I mean, I had another married couple on in my podcast previously, and it was one of the most watched things. People want successful marriages and want to figure out how to do it. And I'm just like,
Ah,
if there's an addiction in the midst of it, let's try and work on that, and
Yep.
don't be ashamed because it's something
yes.
that we can all fall victim to, let's
Amen.
just work on it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.
Well, thank you, Rose Ann, for being on the podcast this
Yeah.
week. Such a great story.
It is a great story. And this is the devotional. And I actually have 3 women who actually I have 4 people who I'm taking through this program. One group of 3, and I have another individual who are going through the Choose Freedom program, and it goes and works directly with the devotional as well. And it really is, it is transformational. So if anybody would like interest in that, I know I'll be doing probably another group this fall. So to get on that list, let me know.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, kids. Well, thank you for joining us this week for the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. Check out all those links down below we chatted about earlier. Always check out Rose Ann and the book. And until next week or next time, I am Matt, along with Coach Amy, wishing you peace and love from the cornfields. And we are out.